This former WWE superstar was one half of the popular tag team The Headbangers with his partner Thrasher. He wrestled some of the biggest names during the Attitude Era. Straight Outta Jersey welcomes another Jersey wrestler, headbanger MOSH, Chaz Warrington.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Straight Outta Jersey. I'm your host, Joe Zapata, and my next guest is a former WWE superstar who actually was a Jersey resident at one time.
Straight out of Jersey, straight out of Jersey until 23 years ago. Now I'm straight out of South Florida.
Mr. Chaz Warrington, Mosh, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
You don't miss New Jersey?
I miss the Phillies games.
Okay.
But I go up there every summer. My brother still has a place up there, so I'll still go up, hang out with him. Yeah. I make sure it's when the Phillies are home so we can go. Or I try to go like June-ish to like September, and okay. That's it. Unless the Phillies are in the playoffs in October, then I'll suck up for the cold to go to the Phillies game in the playoffs.
Well, looks like the Mets are going to do it this year, though. They're looking really good.
Easy. They say that every year, Mets fans.
Yeah. Well, up here, I'm North Jersey, so I was mostly the Meadowlands wrestling. You must have went to the Spectrum.
Yeah, I went to the Spectrum to watch. I grew up 20 minutes outside Philly, so yes. We used to take the high-speed line over and then jump on the subway, the Broad Street subway, and head down. And, we used to go to the Spectrum.
Yeah, so you grew up a wrestling fan, too?
Yeah, I grew up. I started really probably getting into it mid-'80s, probably like 83, 84, 85. And then, that's kind of – it took off from there for me.
Okay, who's your favorite wrestler? During that time?
Favorite of all time is Macho Man.
Macho Man, okay.
Hands down, Macho Man. And then, of course, you're a kid. You're 10, 11 years old. You had to be, a Hulk Hogan fan. And then I went into, the Ultimate Warrior. But my all-time favorite by far is the Macho Man.
Macho Man. Now, you were a wrestler in school. Is that how it turned out? You were a wrestler first in high school?
Yes, I wrestled from third grade all the way through high school, and I dabbled a little bit in the short time I went to college. Yes.
Okay. So what made you decide to go into pro wrestling?
You know what? It kind of was like right place, right time. I used to joke with my friends when we go over to the Spectrum to watch, and we'd watch, we'd get together and have pay-per-view parties and stuff like that. And I used to joke around, tell them, "Oh, one day you're going to see me in that ring." And but it was just kind of a joke. And at least I meant it as a joke because I never dreamed it would happen. And what ended up happening was there was a flea market right by my house, and on every now and then there'd be a big truck out front, and it had spray painted on the side of it, Pro Wrestling Saturday night at 8 p.m. And one Saturday I had nothing going on, so I was like, "Oh, let me check out this pro wrestling thing they have back here." And it turns out that, and I had no idea what it was when I was walking into it. Just turns out it was a school, and it was the Monster Factory. And Glenn at the time, my partner, was their Larry's heavyweight champ. And we started talking after the show and realized that it kind of looked familiar to me. And then from us talking, we realized that our high schools actually wrestled one another, but we didn't wrestle each other because we were different weight classes. And he convinced me to come down and give it a try. And I was like, sure, let me try it out. At least I can say I tried it, and told my friends I was in a wrestling ring. But yeah, so that's how it happened. I went for a tryout, had to try out, and I got into the school, started paying my money, and then from there, I think it was kind of just meant to be. My career just took off.
Wow. There's a lot of famous people come from the Monster Factory in Jersey. I think it's Plainsboro. That's where it is, off of Route.
It's in Paulsboro now, yes.
Paulsboro, yeah.
Paulsboro, yes. Yeah, when I went, it was in Clementon, but Danny Cage is running it now, and it's in Paulsboro.
Okay, that's where it is now. A lot of famous people.
Which is actually a wrestling capital of South Jersey. I can't tell you how many state championships, and they were in my conference. I mean, we'd wrestle them, and they'd beat us like 63 or 72-0. So
wow.
The high school was a great. It's a great wrestling high school. Yeah.
Now, I do know a lot of people did try and join, and there's only a few that are picked from that school, from like the wrestling school, to move on. I know that's kind of.
You mean in Larry's school?
Yeah, in Larry's school.
Yeah. So when I had, 100%. Larry didn't take everybody, and when he told me that, I thought he was full of shit. I said, because I'm thinking to myself, because when I did my tryout, there were 6 guys there. And in my mind, I'm thinking that's $18,000. It was $3,000 to join the school. I'm like, that's $18,000. He's not turning down all that money. But he did. He only took 2 of us.
Wow.
And he told the other four, like, thanks, but because his thing was, and this makes perfect sense after he said it to me, is that if he didn't feel you were going to be good enough to become somebody, he didn't want you there because he didn't want people going through school, then going around doing shows and being awful and saying, "Oh, I went to the Monster Factory," because then it makes the school look bad. So
Mhm.
he only took, he was very, very selective on who he chose to go through the school.
Wow. And I know you took a lot of bumps to entertain us. And I always ask this to all the guys that I talk to because I'm friends with a lot of the boys. How's your health today? Are you okay? Like,
Oh, I'm good. I'm
oh
great.
yeah, you feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna laugh at this, but DDP yoga is amazing.
You're right. You're 100% another
it,
Jersey guy.
it 100% is. Like, I'm sore. I get
Mhm.
sore. I get stiff. But I'm still very active. I play competitive kickball. I play competitive softball. I still work out, but I get stiff and tight. And this was probably 15 years ago. I put a thing out on Twitter because pulled my back out, and I was like, yeah, I
Mhm.
guess I should need to start using some DDP yoga. And I tagged him on Twitter. And it was funny. He sent me a message. He goes, Chaz, he goes, I'll send you everything. He
Mhm.
goes, I'm not going to charge you. He goes, I'll send it to you. He goes, all I ask is if you like it, you tell people about it. If you don't like it, just shut up. So I was
Mhm.
like, okay, but no, I still do. I don't do his whole program. There's certain stretches that work for me that I got out of his videos.
Mhm.
So I do those. I stretch in the morning. I stretch at night, and obviously before any kind of activity. I stretch, but the stretches all came from his
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, Dally helped me out a little bit too because I had my hip replaced from squatting a lot, doing heavy, bodybuilding, and then he helped me a lot. This does work. The yoga does
yeah.
work. I can tell you that.
No,
I
it
can tell you
does. His stuff is good. I like it because you feel
that.
it
Mhm.
tightens because it's not, as it's not just stretching, but it's in there is strength training and
Correct.
stuff as well. So it's
Resistance. Yeah.
a lot of resistance training of even just holding your hands out and just holding them like this,
Yep.
like you feel it in your shoulders and your chest and all. So
Yep.
no, I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Jim Cornette has a big part of your life because he's the one that kind of gave you that big push and that name, I guess, the Headbangers, correct?
Yes, Cornette. I owe so much to Cornette and love him to death. Yeah, so he's the one who gave us the idea of the Headbangers. We were wrestling in Arkansas as the Spiders. We had the masks. He
Mhm.
wanted to bring us in, but didn't like the masks, which is funny because he brought us in the Ring of Honor and then put masks on us. Yeah, so he gave us kind of the basis of the Headbangers and just with this idea and this vision, and
Mhm.
then we ran with it from there. And
Mhm.
then from there, he was talking to Vince when Smoky Mountain shut down. And he said to Vince, hey, I got this tag team, that was down Smoky Mountain with me. And, I'd like to bring them for a tryout. And Vince said to him, he goes, well, tell me about them. So he's like, you probably know who they are. They've been up here. They've done jobs before, enhancement matches,
Mhm.
extras, whatever, as the Spiders or Chaz and Glenn. And Vince turns around. He's like, yeah, he goes, I know who those guys are. He goes, no reason for a tryout. Just put them under a part-time contract.
Oh,
and
okay.
that's how we got our first contract with WWE, and then we're actually the only part-time guys that ever signed a full-time deal out of that.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Do you like that kind of music? I know
I
Jim
do.
does, I think. Oh,
I
you
do.
do?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Actually, Cornette got the idea because he was at a Glenn Danzig concert. And Marilyn Manson was the opening act. Yeah, so when he started telling me about the idea of the gimmick, I knew exactly what he was talking about because I would go over to the bank in Philly. I'd go
Okay.
to the Spectrum to go to the heavy metal concerts with my buddies,
Mhm.
and I wasn't opposed to even back then. I mean, I'm like 230 now, but back then I was like 150, 160 pounds. Wasn't afraid to get in a mosh pit and start throwing fists and feet and
Mhm.
everything else and diving all around. And I liked it. So I've been there, done that, and I knew exactly what he was talking about.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Did you prefer being a heel or babyface?
Um, Heel's always so much more fun because
Mhm.
you're yelling at people and they're making fun of you, and then you cut them back down with some kind of you're doing it so often you start coming up with comebacks where you just cut them back down.
Mhm.
It's funny because my personality is trying to think of the right way to say this. It's weird because as much as I'm like in front of people and
Yep.
wrestling, you're in front of millions and millions of people. I
Mhm.
don't like the attention.
Really?
So, but yeah, so when I do something and it's, and I get compliments on it, I'm uncomfortable getting the compliments. It sounds stupid, I know.
Yeah, it's
It
crazy.
makes me feel uncomfortable, and I don't know why. Uh, so being a heel was more fun. Now being a babyface, when they would start cheering, I was like, "Fuck you! What are you cheering for me for?" An example is we'd work the Godwins,
Okay.
and Phineas and I would start a match.
Okay.
Phineas would spit in the air. He would catch it and spit in his hands and wipe it through his hair, and the crowd would boo. I would spit in the air and I would catch it in my mouth, and they would pop. I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like, that's totally more disgusting. But yeah, getting cheered and being told good job, and like I just,
Mhm.
I don't know, I just go through life. I do what I got to do. And
Mhm.
we were talking about when we got on with Dex Imaging, the
Yes,
company
that's
I
anything.
work with.
Yes.
My team won Team of the Year, and
Mhm.
we got a Rolex, and there was probably about 400 people, 500 people at the gala, which was actually at Mar-a-Lago on Saturday night. Um, yeah, and I walk up and I do a barrel roll onto the
I
stage and
saw that.
stand
Yes.
up, but that's just my way of kind of, I guess, getting lost in the moment, so I didn't have to pay attention to everyone cheering me and clapping for me. Because
Wow.
at the same time, I'm having fun, but at the same time, in the inside, I'm like a duck on the pond. You got the duck
Okay.
that kind of just coats around like this, but
Mhm.
underneath his little feet are going like this miles an hour. That's me.
Okay.
I'm literally a duck on the pond probably 90% of the time.
Now, I know you said you like being heel, but you make more money being baby, correct?
Well, yeah, because you have merchandise that sells.
Your merch, right? So
So
that's
yeah, so the cool part for Glenn and I is we ended up in a weird spot, which was actually good for us. But we didn't
Mhm.
understand it at first, and it was actually Cornette who pulled us aside and
Mhm.
told us it was okay. And this is why it was a good spot. So we got to a certain point where we were so over that we could work heels and get cheered, but then we
Okay.
could work babyface and get booed. But the next night we could go out as babyface and get cheered again. He
Oh,
goes,
wow.
no matter who you're working, he goes, they're going to cheer for you. Hey,
Mhm.
he said they're going to cheer for you, so just go with it and don't worry about
Okay, cool.
it.
Now, your first match was with Adam Bomb, is that
Yeah,
correct? Adam Bomb. How was that working with him?
it was amazing. I mean, I was only training down at the school for 3 weeks,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah,
Okay.
I had never done an offensive move. I knew how to take bumps and sort of knew how to hit the ropes.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so
That's
it
really
was,
cool, huh?
I mean, it's amazing. Here I am 3 weeks into training, having no idea what I'm doing, and I'm standing in a WWF ring in
Mhm.
front of, I don't know, 4,000 people. And
Wow.
yeah, it was amazing.
Okay. I'm friends with well, I call him Bear, but Charles call him Papa Shango. I'm
Yes.
friends with him. He told me to tell you, he said he still remembers when you punched him in the face.
This is the greatest story because the story is, so Papa was my second match.
You hmm
So he was my second match the night after I wrestled Adam Bomb. So second match we do was actually my first match that aired on TV. So he's my
Okay.
first time on TV in the ring. And it was funny because we were standing in the back, and so Papa went through the Monster Factory,
hmm
and I guess
Yep.
there was some kind of falling out with him and Larry. I still to this day don't know what it is. Don't care. But
hmm
Glenn said to me, "You can't tell him you went to the Monster Factory because there's an issue with him and Larry." So the
Okay.
whole time in my head, I'm nervous now, not of course still not knowing what I'm doing. And I'm like, if he asks me what wrestling school I'm going to, like, what am I going to tell him? Like, thank God he didn't ask me. The only question he asked me was, "How do you throw a punch?" And I'm like, "Well, I punch you like," and I pointed like to his neck area, like right here. I'm like, "Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
I hit you right there." And he goes, "Yeah, but how do you throw a punch?" And I'm like, Just right there. Like, I don't want to hit you here. Like, I hit you like in this area." And he's like, "Yes." He had so much patience with me because if I approached someone now and
Mhm.
I had this conversation with them, I'd be like, "All right, don't worry about it. Like, forget it," because I don't want to get hurt. But
Mhm.
he's like, "No," he goes, "I want to see how you throw a punch."
Mhm.
And I just sat there I stood there looking at him. He goes, "So go ahead and punch me." I go, "You want me to punch you right now?" And he's like, "Yes." I'm like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." I punched him so hard in the jaw. He
Mhm.
stood like this. And I went, "Oh shit, I'm dead." And he turned around and looked at me and he goes, "Kid, tonight you're going to throw kicks. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, he told me you hit him good. You got a good one on him.
I think the best part about the story is all the years that we were in the locker room together, I never told him the story. I never shared this with him. And it was WrestleMania. This was probably 2015, something like that, 2014, 15. WrestleMania was in California. And we were out there doing WrestleCon. And he was there. He had the Papa Shango paint on him. So I went up to him and I was like, Papa, I said, I never told you this. I said, but you were actually my second match I ever had, but the first time I was on TV. And he's like, get out of here. And I'm like, yeah. And I said, so there's a little backstory about that. So I started telling him the story, and he stops me and he goes, wait a minute. He goes, you're the kid that almost knocked my teeth out in the locker room? I'm like, yes, that was me. And we started laughing so hard. And then I took my phone out and pulled the match up on YouTube, and we sat there and we watched the match together, which was pretty cool.
Wow, that's pretty cool, man. You know, how was the locker room? Was with all the people during the Attitude Era? Because you know, seems a little bit rough. A lot of competition.
A lot of competition, but it was great because we all, for the most part, everyone knew their role.
Okay.
You knew where you were in the chain of command. You knew what your job was. You just wanted to go out there and do the best you could because everyone had the same goal. We wanted to beat WCW. You know, when I first got there, that's when it was just before the whole Monday Night Wars thing started, but they were whooping our ass when, you know, when I first got there, WCW was. So that was it. Everyone kind of knew your role. You kind of just went out there and did the best you could to help everyone out. I mean, there was a few people who were, you know, kept to themselves or really didn't mingle much. But for the most part, I mean, everyone got along because, again, we all had the same goal in mind. We all wanted to succeed. We all wanted to beat WCW and, most importantly, make a bunch of money.
Yeah. There's a couple of people that tell me that they think the Montreal Screwjob was a work. And I'm like, no, but you were there when Vince got punched, weren't you? Right in the face?
We were told to clear out of the locker room.
Okay. So we
were basically kind of standing in the hallway when it happened. And it was kind of awkward for us because we were close with Brett. Brett was one of the first guys when we got there who kind of took us under his wing. And I don't know why, we just kind of did. And I don't know if it had something to do with his kids, because Glenn and I are big kids. And when his kids were around, we would play with his kids. You know, it's even in his documentary where he tells his kids to go find us and play. You know, and so it was kind of cool. You know, Brett kind of took, like I said, he took us under his wing. He would watch our matches. He would pull us aside. He would help us out. And then when, you know, that whole thing went down and he was leaving, we were like, oh, crap. And it was a weird void for us not having Brett around, because now we kind of had to figure out, okay, who can we go to? Who can't we go to? Like a lot of those guys in that, and I'll just say in that Sean group, you know, knew we were, you know, we hung out with Brett, you know, for the most part. So it was kind of weird. But we did run into Brett probably about a year and a half or so ago at 90s Wrestle. I think it was 80s WrestleCon that Tommy Fierro does in North Jersey.
Okay. Oh, yep.
And Brett came over to us. Like, he got up and walked over to us.
Oh,
and
cool.
You know, we were talking, and he was like, listen, he goes, you know, he goes, felt bad when I left. He goes, I always felt like you were my boys. I just want to tell you guys that, and, you know, I really respect what you guys did. And he said, he goes, I would watch the program because I wanted to keep up with it, see what was going on. He goes, but the real reason was, he goes, I wanted to see what you guys were doing. So it was just a really cool thing, you know, all these years later. Like, he didn't have to tell us that. But it was just a really cool thing for him to do, to come up to us and tell us, you know, like I said, all these years later. But we stayed in touch with him for a few months after he left, but just with the schedules and everything, we just kind of fell out of touch.
Yeah. What about his brother Owen? You're probably close to him too.
Yeah, Owen's just an amazing person.
Ribber too, big ribber, huh?
He was a big ribber, but just an amazing person. And we had a great moment with him one time, because the first contracts we signed, like I said, they were part-time. Part of the part-time deal was the fact that the office paid for our travel. So when we had to get a rental car, they paid for it. They paid for the hotel. So Owen came up to us one night and he he goes, hey, he goes, Davey Boy left me. He goes, can you guys give me a ride to the next town? And then, I'll hook up with him. So we're like, of course, you're Owen Hart. Of course, we're going to give you a ride. So Owen rides with this town. We get to town. We're like, so where's Davey Boy at? He goes, I don't know. He never told me. We're like, okay. So what do you do? He goes, well, just go to your hotel and I'll get a room at your hotel. Like, no big deal. So like, fine. So we walk into our hotel. Well, there were no rooms available. It was sold out. So we were like, do you want us to take you to, because now it's like, I don't know, 1 a.m, 2 a.m, whatever it is. And so we're like, do you want us to take you to another hotel? He's like, no. He goes, if you guys are okay with it, I'll just crash on your floor. Like, you're going to sleep on our floor? Like, you can stay with us, but like you're not going to sleep on the floor. So we gave Owen a bed. Glenn and I tried sharing a bed, which didn't work out well. I ended up sleeping in a chair.
Okay.
But the great part is this is where Owen's the best. He gets up the next morning and unpacks his bag. This is when he was Intercontinental Champion and Tag Team Champion.
Okay.
So he takes the belts and he puts them on the dresser, takes his bag out. He goes in, he takes a shower. So I get up and I walk over and I'm looking at the tag belt and I touch it. And then I picked it up and I jumped up on the bed and we're jumping around. Glenn and I are jumping around like we just won the tag titles. Shower goes off. We run over. I put the belt back down and sit back in a chair like this. Got the TV on, like we're watching TV, like nothing's going on. Owen comes out with the towel around his waist. He goes over to his bag. He pulls some stuff out. He turns and goes back into the bathroom and he stops. He turns around and looks at us. He goes, you touched my belt, didn't you? And we're like, yeah, pretty much. He goes, that's why I put it out. I figured you would. And he just went into the bathroom. Like we were jumping around with the belt like we were 10 years old.
That's funny. Were you guys there when he passed?
I was at the pay-per-view.
Okay.
Glenn was home hurt. This is when his knee was out.
Oh,
and this is when I was kind of in between doing Beaver Cleavage and Jazz.
Yeah.
I was there, but I had left.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't on the pay-per-view. I watched like a little bit and I was like, let me get out and get to the next town. So I found out actually Glenn was watching the pay-per-view while I was driving to the next town. He called me to tell him and told me.
Wow. Oh, he
Yeah,
told
so
you.
I was there at first, but I wasn't there when he actually fell.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I wanted to ask you about Vince McMahon. Obviously, he's been with Netflix stuff going on, documentary and all this kind of stuff. He's been in the news. You worked for him. How was he with you?
When I was there and he was making money off of us, he was great.
Okay.
He would, we could knock on his door, TV. Glenn and I were close to, we're close to Stanford. So when we had days off, we would, or if we had an appearance in New York, from there we'd go up to the office. And we actually were up there so much, they ended up giving us our own key cards to get in and out of the office. So we went wherever we wanted. It was cool because, talent didn't go up there a lot. So when we went there, everyone treated us a little special. Plus we left with all kinds of merchandise. And we would go into his office and we got friendly with Beth, his secretary. We'd actually go into his office and rearrange it. And then there was one time he got a big bouquet of flowers from the USA Network. So we took the card, we crossed out USA Network and wrote "Love the Headbangers." And like we'd see him at TV and he goes, "Hey, I like what you did with The Office. Like, thanks." Or, "Hey, thanks for the flowers." Like, so we had that like joking relationship and we could sit down and talk to him whenever we wanted. But the thing that made me laugh about the documentary was Vince was like, "Well, no, it's not. I'm not the same. Like, I'm not all business all the time." And no, Vince is business all the time. And it took me years. It took me years to figure this out after the fact because when I was leaving WWE, they told me creative didn't know what to do with me. They didn't know who I was.
Okay.
And I was like, well, you've given me 15 different characters in the last 3 years. So, of course, you don't know who I am, but everyone knows who MOSH is. So let me run and be MOSH as a singles. And they were like, no, we want you to be Chaz. Well, you don't know who Chaz is. You know who MOSH is. So let me be MOSH. Let's run with that. And they kept saying no. So I tried calling Vince. That was kind of my last resort. Let me call Vince and see if I can't get through to him. But at this point, it got back to Vince that they weren't re-signing me. He wouldn't even take my phone call.
That was fucking.
And that's what I said. I'm like, this is messed up. And I was bitter about it for a while after I left. And I'm like, what an asshole. But then, as the years went on, I realized like Vince was just business all the time. When I was there, he would talk to me and I could do whatever I want because I was talented and he was making money off me. Once he's done making money off of you, you're done to him. Like, and it's nothing personal. It's just business is business with Vince. So he's just.
But you guys were over as the Headbangers. You guys were over.
Yeah.
You guys were big with the crowd. So I don't know why he didn't keep doing it. Shawn Michaels went singles from DX or
Yeah, I think part of that, and it goes back to me just being young, naive, insecure. I had a lot of insecurities when I was there, because I don't know if it was because like I wrote a book, and it's with the publisher right now, so I'm just waiting to hear back from the publisher. But in the book, I wrote like I was never fully comfortable around everyone in the locker room, and I don't know if that's because like I watched them growing up, or if it was just me being just the way I was brought up, like just being insecure. Like when I'm doing my sports and stuff like that, I was secure as hell. But as far as like small talk, having just like small talk, regular daily conversation, I was awful.
Really?
And so I don't know if that had something to do with it. It's funny. I tell everyone this. I go up to the Performance Center, WWE Performance Center, Orlando, and I guest coaching. I've had more conversations with Shawn, and then the last 2 times I've been up there with The Undertaker, with him doing LFG, I've had more conversations with them now than I did in the locker room all those years.
Really? Wow.
I'm a little more confident now. And back then I was like, oh my God, it's The Undertaker. And Shawn is self-admitted was an asshole back then. So, it was, but yeah, so that was just kind of how it was. And kind of went off on a tangent. I don't know how I got
there. No, that's okay.
Here we are.
Did I heard you guys had I don't know if it was an issue at ICP or something where you beat the crap out of them, you and Glenn, one day or something?
Yeah, we were basically told, hey, they're not coming back. There's 3 different stories. One story is that I know of is when we turned on the oddities and we cut Luna's hair. The one story I heard was they went into Vince and was like, "Oh my God, did you hear the heat we got? We want more money."
Okay.
And the other story we heard was that there was a commercial, or WWE was supposed to promote like their album or something that was coming out on that episode of Raw that we did Luna's hair, and Vince didn't allow it. He cut it, and so their agent told them, "Fuck them, leave, quit, and walk out." So, but we were told the money part, and we were basically told, you guys need to beat the crap out of them because they're not coming back. And if you don't, then when you come tomorrow, you won't be able to get in the building.
Oh,
so
boy.
we were like, okay. That's what we
so
did.
You gave them a beating.
Yeah, so that's what we did. But the funny part is they called us for their Juggalo Championship Wrestling they did for the gathering. And they reached out, and I was like, oh, is this payback? Like, are they trying to get us? Because I know those juggalos can be nuts. So I've heard stories, and I'm like, it's like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, I was kind of worried. So we gave them like an exorbitant amount of money that we wanted. And they said yes. And I'm like, oh, we can't say no now because they're paying us what we want. And we're like, oh, great. Now we're going over and get the shit kicked out of us. But when we saw them, they were great. They came over, they hugged us. They were like, listen, you guys beat the hell out of us. Like, that was so much fun for us. We loved it. It was great. And so everything's all good. We run it, everything's good. So, I remember my tangent though. Hold on. Let's go back.
Okay.
So you asked me, you said, sometimes like a singles guy will take off out of a tag team.
Yes.
Right. So my thing was, I think I had an opportunity to do that after Beaver Cleavage when I was Chaz.
Okay.
But I just didn't realize that was an opportunity at that point. I didn't look at the business as a business. I was like, do what I'm asked, do what I'm supposed to do. And then they killed Beaver Cleavage. They gave me this girl. The girl and I, our personalities clashed. We didn't really get along. So I didn't realize at the time, hey, everyone that has a female with them is getting a push and they're getting used. And I should have brought her in and just said, okay, this is a business partner, and looked at it that way. But what I did was everything to get away from her.
Wow.
instead of looking at it as, oh, here's my opportunity to take off like Sean or Brett or Edge, and kind of just take off. So I just think insecurities are what kind of held me back, and just not seeing an opportunity in front of me when it was there.
Why didn't you get along? Because you seem like a nice guy. You easy to get along with. I mean, why didn't you get along with her? You know, I know she was a little bit crazy bodybuilder, right?
Yeah, she was a bodybuilder. The biggest thing was I when she first came in, because she knew nothing about the business.
Oh, okay.
And I said, listen, I said, and I talk about this in the book. I told her, don't hang out with the boys. Don't go party with them. Certainly don't sleep with anyone, because your name, it's going to kind of ruin you. Like, you need to be. So I explained China and Hunter.
Okay.
And this is before they were like a thing. I said they travel together, they stay together, they work out together. Like, they're always together. Like, she's not out partying with the boys. She's not. I'm like, that's kind of what I told her. That's kind of how I see this going for it to work. And she was like, oh, okay. And then that very same day, I had that conversation with her. She hung out with one of the boys and slept with one of them. And from that point forward, I just went, because then everything in the locker room happened, and it was going to happen. Oh, how's your poor mother doing? And comments coming. I was just like she, you know how that is. It's kind of what happened, and exactly what happened. So from that point forward, I was like, if you're not going to listen, then I talked to her about outfits. Like, everything she was wearing was black. And I'm like, you need to get different outfits. Like, we can sort of match, but you don't have to match perfectly. But if we're going to be together, like, let's try and coordinate. And she wanted, no, I like these outfits. This is what I want to wear. But at that point, I should have realized, okay, let me adapt then to her outfits. And she wore like all black, all leather. Like, I could have taken, different things that I could have done and started making us match on purpose. And like, I just didn't embrace the opportunity, because I didn't realize it was an opportunity.
Yeah.
But it was.
They killed it really quick, though. I don't remember it long. I think they killed it quick, right?
Well, they killed it not fast enough for me, because then they had me allegedly beating her up and getting arrested and getting beat up in the locker room because of it. So it took a few months.
Okay.
But it's just an opportunity that I missed.
Yeah, exactly. Now, at that time when you're doing all this with WWE, are you single at this time? Are you dating, or?
I had a girlfriend at the time.
Okay, because that could be very tough, because you're always on the road.
It was a little awkward.
Yeah.
Actually, when we did the Beaver Cleavage vignettes, I brought my girlfriend at the time there so she could see.
Oh.
Because Vince Russo explained to me what we were going to do.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't need her seeing this on TV for the first time. So I was like, let me bring her so she could see. So I guess part of it actually could have been, now that you say that, in the back of my head, could have been, me not wanting to embrace her because I had a girlfriend home. I don't know. It could have been.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Wow. We recently lost Sabu. Did you know him at all? Did you have any interaction? You did?
Yeah. Never worked with him, but I mean, met him, saw him
the shows and stuff.
a bunch of times. Yeah.
Yeah. Was he cool with you? He's always a quiet guy.
Yeah. It's funny. Who was I just with? We were talking about this with. I was with Carino. And we kept talking about, like, yeah, Sabu's gone, this one's gone, that one's gone, but fucking Ian Rotten's still alive. It's like, what the hell's going on around here? There's like certain guys that live forever, and then there's other guys that are good guys that are gone.
Yeah, that's pretty sad, I also heard that. Did you have an issue with Jerry Lawler?
No. Lawler gave us a great opportunity. It's just Memphis was not the best place to be.
Okay.
It was a great place to go. It was a great place to be. The problem is those guys there that lived there, they didn't, I don't want to say they didn't like it, but they knew us guys coming from the north weren't going to be there long. So we were just treated differently. I don't think I really ever had a problem with him. The only thing was, actually, the only real interaction we had with him was they wanted us not to wear the masks anymore.
Okay.
And we were like, but that's the whole gimmick. The spiders is a spider on our face, is a mask. And he's like, no, you're going to be Chaz and Glenn, the spiders. And we're like, doesn't make much sense. So what we did is the night we were wrestling, we had to take the match. We lost the match. We took the mask off. We painted our faces black with a big white spider on it. And it got back to Lawler, and he was like, "Oh, that's a good idea. They should do that." So we had a Spot Town show in Mississippi, and Lawler was in the locker room with us, and Glenn and I are painting our faces, and he walks over, he goes, "The hell is that?" We're like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You can't even see your face." We're like, "This is what we did the other night, and you said it was cool. This is what we should do." He goes, "No, I just thought you painted just a spider on your face. I didn't think like you were all black." Because what we did, we went blackface with the white spider,
Mhm.
and we were like, "No, this is what we did." He goes, "Well, hell, if you're going to do that, you might as well just wear the masks." And we went, "Okay." So we washed all the paint off. We put the masks back on. Then we got the TV the next time, and there it was. Headbanger or not headbanger, Spiders versus Eliminators. If Spiders lose, they leave USWA. We're like, well, guess we're going home.
We're going home, huh?
Yeah, we didn't really have an issue with him. It was just kind of the way it was in Memphis. Memphis was a different dynamic than Smoky Mountain was, and it was
Mhm.
just was what it was. But if anything, that's probably the only real run-in we even had.
Okay. Okay. Is it pretty tough? I mean, I was talking, I think Brooklyn Brawler was telling me when you wear a mask, it's pretty tough to wrestle in a mask, isn't it? Because you can't see that well.
It's hard to see. Ours, we had little webs over our eyes, so yeah, it was harder to see. It's harder to breathe.
That's what I was
Um,
gonna say. You
but
know.
but for me, it was the best because I'm in a ring, and I'm still like, even to this day, when I get in a ring, I'm laughing the whole time because I'm just in amazement that I'm doing something that I always dreamed of doing, but never thought I would really do. Especially
Mhm.
back then,
Yeah.
when I wrestled Adam Bomb and Papa Shango, they're beating me up, and I'm like this, trying to cover my mouth the whole time because I'm laughing and smiling.
No,
So
that's
with
great.
fighters, that's why the headbanger gimmick was so great for me. We
Mhm.
could act as goofy and stupid as we want, and if I just start laughing at something, it was just part of it. I
Mhm.
didn't have to hide it, but with the spiders, I had the mask on, so I was able to smile and laugh and not
Mhm.
worry about it. It hit a lot. It hit all that.
Yeah. I see behind you, you got all those wrestling dolls and everything. Is it surreal to see like your dolls in like Target and shit?
Yeah, and that's all me.
Yeah.
The
That's
the
cool.
the only ones that are not me, I have mini Zack Ryder,
Oh, okay, Zach. Okay. Yep.
and then I have, where's she at? Oh, she's kind of hiding back here. I got Red Velvet back here,
Okay. Red Velvet. Okay.
and then I have, where'd he go? Oh, here he is up here.
Mm.
This is a great story. So Axel Rotten was a huge impact on me
Okay.
when I first started. He was in Memphis with us when
Yep.
Glenn and I first went to Memphis, him and Ian. And so he was just a big impact on me. He was very helpful.
Okay.
To this day, I miss him every day because he was, he was a brother.
Hmm.
We did an appearance in Cincinnati at a collectible store, and I walked over, and there's this figure of Axel Rotten, and it's actually signed.
Oh wow. Okay. That's cool.
So I said to the guy, I said, "How much is it?" He tells me how much it was. I think it was like the guy wanted like $150 for it or something. And I was like, "Great, I'll buy it." And I started telling him the story of how Axel was like a big impact on me, how he
Hmm.
helped me, and all
Hmm.
that stuff. So just having this figure to me is gonna mean something. And the guy at the store was great. He goes, "I don't want it." He goes, "I don't want your money." He goes, "Just take it. This is personal to you. It means something." I'm like, "No, no, no." I'm like, "You paid to get that." He's like, "No." He goes, like, "It's a personal story for you. It's going to mean more." He goes, "I'd rather you have it, me make no money, than me sell it to someone else who's not going to have a meaning to it."
Wow. That's pretty cool.
So all my figures behind me are all me,
Hmm.
except for pieces like that. Like Red Velvet and I are good friends.
Hmm.
Uh, I have Powers of Pain signed, one of my
Oh, okay.
favorites.
Terry and oh yeah, the Terry's a cool good.
And then I'm just waiting to see them again.
Oh yeah, Accent Smash Demolition. Yeah.
We do the Squared Circle Expo in Indianapolis every year.
Hmm.
And while I tell you the story, let me see if I can find the picture. And they were doing Demolition and Powers of Pain. We're doing photo op, just those two. So we heard about it, and I said to Glenn, I go, "Let's go." I said, "I want to get a picture with them." So we did. Oh, hold on. So we did. I actually had the picture right here. So we did, and we got a picture of all six of us. The
Oh, that's
guy
cool.
printed out six pictures. He handed each of us one of them. So then it got sent down to us where it was signed by Warlord and by Barbarian. and they said, "Hey, can you guys sign this for us?" And we were
Mm.
like, "Of course." And then I was like, "Shit, this is a once in a lifetime piece right here." All 6 of us got together.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. That is
So
really cool.
there's only 6 of these that were made, and we all 6 of us
All
signed it.
signed them.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's a
So
great piece.
I share that because those are the only other pieces up here that
Mhm.
aren't made. It's something
Yeah.
significant like that.
You gotta frame that.
I will. I'm
Yeah,
still
you got
working on it. This is my I have a townhouse. This is the first floor, and this is
mhm,
kind of my belts here. You can look up behind me, like
mhm.
articles and
Yeah,
stuff like
that's
that.
really
So I'm
cool.
still kind of in the works.
When you guys won the titles, how did you guys find out? Because you guys won the titles, so when did you know about that?
The
Who
day
told
of,
you?
the
The
day of,
day of? Okay.
the day of, and and Cornette told us.
Oh, okay, that's even
We're,
better.
we're in the Louisville Garden, and Cornette says, "Hey," because we weren't even supposed to be in that match. We
Mm,
were only in the match because Steve got hurt when he hurt his neck against Owen, because him and Dude Love were tag champs.
mhm,
So we were thrown in at the last minute, and Cornette says, "Hey, I got to talk to you boys. Come with me down the steps into the parking garage, all the way to a back corner." And we were like, "Jimmy, what have we done that you're bringing us all the way down here to tell us?" He's like, "No," he goes, "I just want to get you boys away from everyone." He goes, "Just want to let you guys know you're winning the belts tonight." And we were
mm.
like, "Oh, this is cool." Kind of like he goes, "No, I brought you down here because I know how you are. Let's get all the excitement and scream and yell right now, so you're not doing it in the locker room." All 3 of us were like jumping around and yelling and screaming.
Mhm,
So that's how we found out we were winning the tag belts that night.
mhm.
Yeah,
Wow, that's pretty cool.
yeah.
I think you guys, I mean, are there's people in the Hall of Fame. Would you consider you guys Hall of Fame career? I mean, you guys have had a great career. Don't take it for what it's not, you know?
It's funny. It's a big debate um,
Yes.
that I'm asked all the time, and my initial answer is no.
No, you
Um,
don't think so?
because I feel like I don't know, maybe because we only won. I mean, we had 2 title runs. One
Yeah.
is WWF champs, and one is NWA World Tag champs.
Mhm.
While we were WWF, so I count that as a title run because we were in WWF. I don't
Okay.
count all the indie stuff like some other tag teams do, because then we'd have like 35, and Bubba would get mad that I have more tag titles than him. Um, but anyway, uh, the so I don't feel, because we only had like those 2 runs that were combined for like 75 days or something.
Mhm.
That's how I kind of look at it. But when I was doing the book, I was writing, yeah, kind of the book goes from when I first walked into the Monster Factory in 1993 till my
Mhm.
contract expired in 2002. And
Mhm.
then I have in there mixed in is when we were back in 2016. But I started reading the body of that, because there's a lot of that stuff like I forgot, or I kind of knew some stuff, but we did do a lot.
You did.
And we had an impact, and our impact was just different, I think,
Mhm.
because like I shared with you earlier, we were able to wrestle heels and be over. We were able to wrestle baby faces and stay
Mhm.
over. No matter
Mhm.
what we did, I think the only thing that hurts us is that era when Vince had us wear the stupid cones, and I think that was more of a punishment geared
Yeah.
at Glenn and a rib, because of he didn't come back in the best shape after a surgery, and we kind of got squashed to the bottom. But for the most part, if you look at our body of work and longevity, I mean, it's June 2025. I started in June, the middle of June of '93. So I
Mhm.
mean, and Glenn trained me. So we've been basically together for 32 years now. So the
Mhm.
longevity, the body of work, still making an impact on people.
Yeah.
I could see it. Do I think it happens? No.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess I can see the argument for it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they got people like Coco Beware in there,
See,
and
that's
then
what
some
gets
people.
thrown up all the time. Coco Beware's in there. So I'm like,
Yeah, I
but
know.
I don't know why he's in there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
there's certain guys who's like rhyme or reason, like, why is he in there? Why is he not in there?
Mhm.
And then you
Yeah.
get, I'm sure with Demolition signing the Legends deal that they're probably going to get in next year, which is amazing. I mean,
Yes.
they
Yeah.
deserve to be in there.
Yep.
Uh, so do we deserve to
Earthquake
be in
now.
there? Yeah, do
Mhm.
we deserve to be in there? I can see the argument for it, but then I see the argument against it at the same time. I'm a realist.
Mhm.
Would it be awesome to be in there? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Does it really mean anything?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe, but it would be cool to do it. Yes.
Yeah, it'd be something cool, dude. I knew John Balls Mahoney too. He was a
Okay.
Jersey guy too, and he was at the
Yeah.
Monster Factory. I heard, and I don't know because I think, did he hit on your mom?
No, he
Oh,
didn't. He didn't hit on her, but he wasn't. But he was totally fucking gross. Sorry about the language, but
no, that's
totally. It was after I had. I don't know where you get this info from, but that was
I
good.
know a lot of stuff, man. I'm a Jersey guy. I know a lot of stuff.
This is actually I don't mind saying it because I tell the story in the book. Um, it was after my first, what I consider my first real match at the
Mhm.
Monster Factory. The Silver Lake Inn was there. That was kind of like
Silver
the
Lake Inn,
sponsor
yeah.
place. We'd
Mhm.
go to the Silver Lake Inn afterwards. And I'm sitting there with my mom was very young looking. We're sitting at the table. My girlfriend at the time was there, and he walks up and he just starts talking and babbling. He was so drunk, babbling, and then he looks right at me. And he's like, "Hey, did I ever tell you about the green shit I have coming out of the head of my dick?" And I'm like, "John, this is my girlfriend. Oh, let me introduce you to my mom." And he's like, "Oh, okay. So have I told you about it?" And I was just like, it's like, dude, go away. Like, just stop. Just stop. Like, come on.
Yeah. John was nuts. He was
Yeah, he
actually
was.
insane.
Yeah,
He
he
was
had
nuts.
Heart of Gold though. I love John to death.
Yeah,
But
he
yeah,
another one that we lost,
yeah, because he actually like the following week, because the school was Larry's was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then after the night of a show, we didn't practice on Sundays, but he came to school next Thursday and he was like, he goes, "I know I was out of line with you, but I don't know how." He goes, "But I'm so sorry. And like,
Mhm.
I had too much to drink." And he goes, "I know I was out of line." And I'm like, because at first I was pissed. Like, I'm like, we're gonna fight. Like, we're gonna get to school on Thursday and we're gonna fight. You may beat me up, but we're gonna fight.
Mhm.
But then he came right up to me and did that, and I was like, all right, he's a cool dude. Like, we're all
Mhm. That's cool. That's really cool.
yeah.
Like I said, you guys were an over tag team. You guys could be in the Hall of Fame, but what do you guys want your legacy to be? You and Glenn's.
I think part of it is, and our gimmick kind of evolved into this
Mhm.
is we always use, people would say to us, why the skirts? Why do you wear skirts? Why do you
Mhm.
have earrings and tattoos? And why do you spit in the air? Why do you wear makeup? And our answer always was, because we can. Like, that was kind of our motto, because we can.
Mhm.
And it evolved into, kind of, as long as you're not hurting anyone, do what you
Mhm.
want to do. Like, if you want it, like us, we're not hurting you by having earrings and face paint and wearing a skirt. If you don't like it, fine,
Mhm.
don't like it. But we're not hurting you. We're doing our own thing. We're being
Mhm.
ourselves. We're being our own person. And I've heard a lot of stories from people coming up to us and saying, "Hey, that resonated with me." And there's one story. It's actually in the book, and I got permission from her to put this in the book, where the girl approached us, and she was her own person, and she was gay, but she didn't like. She knew, but like her dad didn't understand like why she was different, and she said watching us on TV and us coming out and saying all this kind of helped her dad understand who she was, and
Mhm.
it made a better bond for them. Um, but yeah, it was just, I think the legacy is just, your own person. You be
Mhm.
you be you.
Okay.
You do your thing, you do what makes you happy, and who cares what everybody thinks? If they don't like it, then screw them, tell them to go F off.
Yeah.
Do your own thing, be your own person, just be happy and be a good person. Treat people how you want to be treated, and just do your own thing. So
Okay.
I guess
Pretty
that's
cool.
the legacy. I guess I don't really know what else there could
Yeah,
be
that's
other
great.
than just be your own person,
Yep.
but be a good person.
When does the book come out? When is
I
that
don't
going to be
know.
released? You don't know yet.
I don't
Okay.
know. So I've had 3 different conversations with this one publisher. Um,
Okay.
he loves it. I finished it 3 weeks ago. I think
Mhm.
it's almost 3 weeks, and I sent it to him. He just wanted me to finish up to when I left in '02, and then he wanted me to do a post WWE story to see if it's needed in this book. But I don't think it's needed, and I think that story, as I started writing it, started spinning different wheels in my head. I think that could be a totally different
Okay.
book. Um, so I'm just waiting for him now because he already said to me, he goes, "If you commit to doing these couple of things, he goes, I commit to you that we get this book published."
Okay.
And I've done those couple of things. So I'm just
Okay.
waiting for him now to finish reading it. And he just actually sent me an email back over the weekend saying, I got everything. Thanks. He goes, I'm hoping to get back to you very soon. So to
Okay.
me, I'm hoping very soon I was hoping by the end of the week, so maybe by the end of next week.
Hmm.
But I see the stuff he wanted me to do post WWE when I left. I think that's a whole different story. That is a whole different, it's kind of the same but different, because I go from being in a wrestling ring to
Hmm.
pimping copiers is what I say, copiers and printers, which is what I'm still doing. I've been doing. So I left
Hmm.
WWE in January of '02. I started doing the copier thing in April of '02. So there's a lot there, and I think now I go from the wrestling ring into the boardroom, because now I'm
Wow.
philanthropic. I sit on a lot of boards. I work with a lot of charities and nonprofit organizations. So
Wow.
that journey, I think, is a totally different. It's kind of the same story but different, because it's funny. Part of my story with WWF was when I kept trying to figure out who I was. Like, who's Chaz? Like, they kept saying, no, go back to be Chaz. Who's Chaz? I'm like, I don't know who Chaz was. I know who MOSH is. But then when I go into doing the copier thing, I hide from my wrestling background, because I had someone mock me about it when I first walked into their office.
Really?
Yeah, I don't want to get into it now, just in case
Okay.
it gets published. But I had
Mhm.
someone kind of like mock me about it,
Okay.
and I was kind of like, oh, like, okay, so if I'm trying to get with CFOs, CEOs, all these owners, if they see my background, they're going to think I'm some goof.
Hmm.
Here's this guy in a skirt with spitting and face paint on, and like, I don't want to meet with this goof. It took me years to say, you know what, this is okay. It's who I am, and I need to use it. And once I started using it, and I just used it, embraced it, and took off with it, literally my career with copiers just took off.
Wow.
So it's funny. It was actually my editor who said to me, "It's such a great story how you were always trying to figure out who you are, then you hid from who you are, but now that you're being true to who you are, your entire life and career changed."
Hmm.
So
Yep.
it's kind of
That's
it's kind of a
crazy.
cool. So I think that's a cool transition into
Yeah.
possibly a second book.
Yeah. Because you were treating yourself physically, beating yourself up, and now you're at an aspect where mentally you're now doing it.
Which it's funny you say that, because people say to me, "What's harder, wrestling or sales?" And I go, "Sales, because it's mental." I go, "It's
Yeah.
getting beat up physically is fine, because I can take a week off and rest. I can get in a nice bath. I can relax. I can stretch." Mentally, every time a situation comes up, it pops in your head of like, "Oh shit, this happened before. Can't let that happen again. Like, what am I going to get to? What?" So yeah, so I think it's a total different talk track, and I think that can springboard me into, because I do public speaking now. I do a
Hmm.
lot with kids. I'd like the book, being an author, to springboard me into doing more corporate stuff. And I
Hmm.
think the storyline of the book, going from what I did wrestling ring, how I converted that, how I use it now, and how I took off, I think changes everything, especially with Dex Imaging. Like, years ago, I was the first one over $2 million in annual revenue. Then I was
Hmm.
the first one, and I didn't win Rep of the Year.
Okay.
First one over 2 million, didn't win. First one over 4 million, didn't win. And now finally this year, it's kind of hard for them not to give it to me, because I did almost 6.5 million, and the closest person was barely over 5 million.
Wow.
But wouldn't have surprised me if they found ways not to let me win, because they just know my personality of I got to win. Like,
Hmm.
I got to win.
Hmm.
But I just think that whole story translates into a totally different thing,
Wow.
if that makes
That's pretty
sense.
crazy. I want to be respectful of your time. I could talk to you forever, but you were born and raised in New Jersey. Now you live down in Florida, I believe. Um, what do you miss about New Jersey besides the Mets beating the Phillies?
Well, I'm sorry, you cut out. What did you say?
I'm sorry. What do you miss about?
No, I heard that part. It was the Mets part. um, there's probably a couple things. One is because my brother's still there,
Yep.
so I miss not being able to just drive over and hang out with him.
Yeah.
My best friend Mike, we've been best friends since like eighth or ninth grade. He's one of those guys that we don't talk every day. We don't talk once a week. We don't. Sometimes we'll go a month without talking. But when we do, it's like we just spoke yesterday. So
Hmm.
I miss like hanging out with him, hanging out with my brother, being that accessible to be able to hang out with them.
Yeah.
Um, I don't miss the cold. in the winter. I don't miss the snow.
That's true. That's true.
I don't miss any of that. That's probably what I miss the most. It's just being able to hang out.
You guys got gators down there. That's crazy. I wouldn't deal with that. Gators.
Dude, I get jumped right in the water with them. They run away from you. Gators only mess with you if you mess with them or if you mess with their babies. If you go in the canal, you throw a couple big rocks in, you see them kind of move around, they move away, they run from you.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that, but I'm not going to try that. Well, Chaz, thank you so much. Where can they find you on Instagram? You're all over the place. Where can they find you?
So you see my name there, Chaz MOSH. That's all my social media. And now there's the new website, chazmosh.com.
Chazmosh.com. Perfect.
Kind of hiding. Here
there we go.
Chazmosh.com. So you got Chaz, you got Mosh. So go to chazmosh.com. I got that up because that's going to help with the book. You can go on there to book me for appearances, book me for podcasts, book me for whatever you want. I'm going to have I do my own podcast also with my buddy Simon Says. So you can go on there and you can find those, and that's on YouTube as well. So so basically everything is going to eventually run through chazmosh.com. It's still kind of in the works, but it's getting there. We're going to have merchandise on there. I'm going to have a subscription thing eventually because I finally have most of my old stuff that was on VHS tapes. That's all digital now. So I got to start going through that. I'm going to do like a subscription to see some of that stuff. So that's it. And then
where's the Glenn? Is he doing all right? I haven't seen him in a while. Is he doing okay?
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he actually lives 15. He moved down here like 10 years ago, and 12 years ago, something like that. Yeah. So
you guys were not connected for a while. You guys didn't talk, right? Like you guys.
There was a period when he left and when he got released. And then I moved down here. There was, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
But there was times where we really didn't speak at all for a while.
Okay.
But I always tried to at least once a month leave him a message, send him a text or something during that time, because the only thing I never wanted him to be able to say, oh, they released me and then Chaz went off with D-Lo and then, forgot where he came from. He forgot about me. I never did that. But no, Glenn and I get along. We actually have a show this Saturday in Youngstown, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
And he lives 15 minutes from me now. Okay. He moved down here, so we're 15 minutes away from one another.
Cool. Well, I think you guys are going to be back in Jersey, and are you guys coming back for the big event in New York again, or no?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you guys were coming up there. I don't know.
We haven't been, as far as I know, we have not been asked.
Okay. No.
So if anyone wants to ask, I think we're available.
Okay. I have to ask Tom because I'll ask him to go up. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, Chaz. It's been a pleasure. I can talk to you all the time. I will post this up and talk to you soon, brother.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks, Joe.
You got it, man. All right.
Thanks for watching the Zapata Brand Podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast and listen where all podcasts are available.